grant was looking,
Sorry.
our grant was for urban and rural. So we are delivering this program down in Washington County and Athens County. BRI Care Consultation. One of the pieces of Benjamin Rose is we have elder services, we have senior centers and home delivered meals, and we have a financial wellness and counseling, and with the Medicare, open enrollment, we're doing the income taxes, but we also have a research component, and we are one of a few or the only research component that is not directly connected with a hospital or a university. And as a result of the research, research was done on caregivers and supporting caregivers, and that if we don't take care of the caregivers, now we have double the problem. So Benjamin Rose created this evidence-based program called BRI Care Consultation. We deliver it at 30 licensed sites throughout the United States. They buy the license. We train the care consultants, provide ongoing support. We're down in Texas, California, Georgia. We're up in Alaska, Michigan. We're all over, and our goal is to continue to share with folks and try to get as many organizations on task. The beauty of the program is that it's not a brick and mortar type of program, that it is designed to be delivered by phone and email, because we know caregivers don't have time to be able to come to a place to take time out of their day to talk with us, but we help prepare things. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. But what I'm going to do is right now I'm going to share my screen. And hopefully it's the Dementia Friends presentation, right? I want to make sure I got this right. Didn't go to school for IT.
I know, but you're good. You didn't even fumble.
Oh, the night is still young, Debbie. The night is still young. So this program, as I said, that we have a grant through Administration for Community Living. The grant started 3.5 years ago and was due to end at the end of June in 2023, and they gave us a 6-month extension. So the end of July will be the end of this grant in being able to provide Dementia Friends. So I was so glad when Debbie asked to, kind of, hey, can we have one more go around with this before the end? The good piece is we were collecting data and having surveys done. The time for collecting surveys is over, so you guys can sit back and relax and just kind of enjoy the program that's here. So I like to, welcome everyone and thank you for being part of this. That the Dementia Friends Ohio Champions is the piece that we're going to train you, and that you're going to gain some knowledge about dementia. And hopefully the goal is for you to also take that information and maybe even share one piece with one person, and hope to really think about what it means to create a dementia friendly community that's there. These are the partners. So again, this is not something that is done singularly. So with our urban rural project, we partnered with Athens County United Seniors. We partnered with Washington County O'Neill Center in Cuyahoga County. As I had mentioned, we partnered with Welcome House, who does have some group homes that are out there, but the main focus was on folks that are living in the community that are not in the group homes. Once the grant is completed, though, Welcome House is continuing to deliver BRI Care Consultation, and they're not going to be limited to having a person that's living in the community, but they can help their clients who are living in group homes also. And so statewide, we are working with the Ohio Council for Cognitive Health, who is really instrumental in bringing Dementia Friends, adapting the presentation to be specific for target groups. whether it's IDD, whether it's first responders. They've been wonderful in that. And also, Miami University is the one that is doing all the data to see if we are in fact making an impact. We'd like to acknowledge that this information that we have did come from many sources. We have had some wonderful trainings by Dr. Phil McCallion, who is at Temple School of Social Work and is really one of the premier folks in the arena of IDD, and really helped guide us in developing this with the Alzheimer's disease and Down syndrome society, that we have resources from them. And again, this national task group of folks that are really devoted to supporting this. The evaluations, I'm going to skip through that because you didn't have to do that. So hopefully everything's going to work good, and you're going to hear just let me know if the volume is okay. But this is a trailer talking about Dementia Friends.
Lori, is there supposed to be sound?
Yeah, hold on.
Under share screen, you have to pick share sound also.
Oh my goodness.
That's at the bottom, I think.
So I have share screen, and
There should be
Like a carrot?
something that says share. It's not exactly, it's like on the toolbar that says, because I forget to do it every time, that says share sound too.
right, hold on. Let me see if I'm share screen and share sound. Oh, I found it. I found it. Oh my goodness.
That's better. Thanks, Laura.
Here, thank you.
If you saw someone living with dementia, would you recognize the signs? Would you be uncomfortable? Would you avoid them? Would you be frustrated? Would you do nothing? Or would you be a friend? Would you engage them and empower them to get through their day? Would you welcome the opportunity to help them feel like a part of your community? Would you take even the smallest step to make their world less frightening or confusing? Every single one of us has a unique part to play in the lives of people living with dementia in our community. Become a dementia friend today and build communities where all people can live, age, and thrive.
Hey, Mr. Fredrickson, it's Tuesday. Aren't you going to the store?
Yeah.
Come on, I'll walk with you.
Find out more at dementiafriendsusa.org.
So what's really interesting about this video is, I've seen it many times, and, it's like, okay, I get it. And about 6 months ago, I was in the grocery store, and there was an older couple, and the husband, we were at Giant Eagle, the husband's kind of bagging the groceries, and so the cashier told the wife, this is how much it costs. She goes, okay, and she goes pulling open her purse, and she's looking, she's looking, she can't find the money, and he's getting really upset. He's going, if the money's in there, I gave it to you. And so she's getting even more flustered, and then he's getting angry. And, it was just like, oh my goodness, this is happening right in front of me. And I'm going to say, fortunately, they didn't have a lot in groceries. I said, let me just pay for it, because I didn't want to, there was my opportunity to tell the husband, hey, give her a break. She has dementia, but that was not the right place to do it. But I think, hopefully by showing that little bit of kindness, it kind of helped diffuse the situation that's there. But, it was like, it was playing out right in front of me. Like, where's the camera? This is what's going on. So for the activity and, just kind of, unmute yourself. But what are the first words when you hear the word dementia?
Everybody's muted but me.
I think grandmother or because my my kid's grandmother, my mother,
Okay.
got dementia. So
Okay.
that's what I think.
And I think confusion.
Confusion. Okay. All right. Anyone else?
I think frustration and anxiety for the person who is suffering dementia as well as the caregivers.
Yes. Yes. Very much so.
I think of the word like sad. It
Okay.
makes me sad.
Yeah. And so it's interesting because, the next slide says your perceptions of dementia, and they're mostly negative. So, that they're victim, that they're old, memory loss, hopeless, wander, and unfortunately, that's how society views dementia. The goal of this presentation that is to say that, even with a diagnosis of dementia, someone can have that you are able to live a vital and useful life. So dementia. So let's talk about what dementia is. And I think that's really a challenge because dementia is not a specific disease, even though doctors will say, well, you have dementia. Actually, dementia is an overall term for symptoms. And it may be a decline in memory and other thinking skills. But when it comes to dementia, there are over 100 symptoms, over 100 diseases that dementia is one of the symptoms, but not all the folks that have dementia have Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is the most common. Some dementias are reversible. That's why it's important as you're noticing changes in your loved one to not accept that dementia diagnosis unless they've had a really good assessment, because dementia could be caused by a metabolic or vitamin deficiency. It could be caused by depression. It could be caused by some other factors. And wouldn't it be nice if you knew that you could address that and the dementia would no longer be there? We know that our folks that, anyone that has urinary tract infections, oh my goodness, they can get dementia just like that. It comes on suddenly. Dementia doesn't come on suddenly. It usually is gradual. So there's something else that is part of the process that's there. Alzheimer's is the most common of the dementias that is diagnosed. That accounts for 60 to 80% of our population. But there are other types of dementia. There's dementia with Lewy body. There's frontotemporal. There's vascular dementia. There is dementia, Werner's-Korsakoff's due to alcohol abuse. And what they find sometimes, what they're finding is that someone may be diagnosed with your, garden variety Alzheimer's, but as they age and things progress, they may have mixed dementias because another dementia is going to come forward. So if you think of the bookcase, this next video, I love this video. It's an example that I use when I'm talking with a lot of caregivers, talking about a healthy brain versus how dementia progresses. And in a healthy brain, you see that all the books are lined up. They're in that bookcase. They're sturdy as can be. But you can see as dementia progresses, the top shelf, those books fell off, and in the middle there are some books that came down. So this is I love this video. Hopefully you can understand her accent a little bit, but I like this.
Hi, I'd like to explain dementia to you in the way that it was explained to me. I'd like you to picture that I'm an 80-year-old woman standing here, and that beside me there is a bookcase that's as tall as I am and is filled with books. Now, each of those books represents a fact or a date or a number or a memory that I've gained in the last 80 years of my life. So right at the top, my most recent memory, so what I had for breakfast, getting dressed this morning. The next shelf down might be things that are a little bit less recent, so maybe my last holiday, what I did at Christmas, maybe the last time you came to visit me. The next shelf down by my shoulders will be my 70s, my 60s, my 50s, my 20s will be down by my knees, and my childhood memories will be all the way down by my feet. So that is the bookcase that makes up me. Now, when I get hit by dementia, what's going to happen is that my bookcase is going to start to rock. And I'm going to start losing those books, starting from the ones on the top, which may explain why my short-term memory is likely to be affected first. So, as my dementia progresses, I might find myself having lost not only the top shelf, but the next one down and the next. I might find myself living in the 1950s. Now, embrace my reality. I go into my kitchen today to make myself a cup of tea. What do you think? Given that I'm expecting a 1950s kitchen, what's a likely accident that I might have? If you've thought putting an electric kettle on a hob, that's absolutely right. Now, as my carer, as my relative, you might be tempted to say, we shouldn't let her make tea anymore, that's really dangerous. But there is a simpler solution, which might be to just change my kettle from an electric one to a whistling kettle, because that's what I'm expecting, and I know how to use that. And I learned how to use a whistling kettle all the way down in my childhood, so that memory is likely to stay with me a lot longer. That's not going to help everybody with dementia, but it might help me at this particular stage. Now, I talked about this one bookcase that's got all these facts and memories and numbers, and that's quite a flimsy bookcase, and when that gets hit by dementia, it rocks a lot. Now, this bookcase is representing a part of my brain called the hippocampus, which is more susceptible to dementia. However, my feelings and my emotions, the things that make me who I am and the reasons why you love me, they're all managed separately by a different part of the brain called the amygdala. And that's all here in a separate bookcase. It's a really strong oak bookcase. And when that gets hit by dementia, it's not going to move very much. Let me explain to you how the two bookcases work together. So when I was a child, I had a teacher. He's on the hippocampus bookcase. He was incredibly inspiring. And the way that he made me feel, inspired, in awe, that is stored in a separate book on my amygdala bookcase. So the teacher is on the hippocampus, but the way I felt, that's going to be managed by the amygdala. Now let's bring it back to today, where I'm the 80-year-old woman, I have dementia, you come to visit me, so that's a fact, that happens here, and we have a blazing row. I'm probably going to feel upset, sad, angry, and that's going to go onto the amygdala in a book here. You might go away thinking, it doesn't really matter. She'll forget that I even came to visit, let alone that we had a row. And you know what? You're probably right. That book will probably go. But what's likely to stay with me are those feelings, those emotions, that anger, and with nothing to relate it to, it might be really confusing for me. But let me leave you with a positive example. Say you come to visit me, and you take me out to the seaside, and we have a great time. So here it is, the seaside, the waves, the great time, the feelings of safety and happiness and love that I feel are held over here in the amygdala. As soon as we get back to my house, I've forgotten where we've been. That book is gone. And you might think, oh, it's just not worth it. Why do I bother? I don't think I'm going to carry on visiting her. But look over here. Those feelings, that safety, that warmth, that's going to stay with me for a lot longer. So I would like to encourage you to continue to visit and to care for the people that you know, relatives, friends who have dementia, and to remember that there is more to the person than the dementia. Thank you.
I think one of the things that's important that she's talking about is, adjusting what is going on and using a different type of kettle. What happens too often is when someone has a deficit, it might be physical, it might be cognitive, we're quick to jump in and take away the abilities that they do have. And if nothing else, the story that we want to share is let us continue to capitalize on what they're able to do, or what activities they're able to do. Let's adjust them so they can continue to have that sense of purpose and independence that we all want to have. So here's a picture of the healthy brain versus the Alzheimer's brain. And it's very evident that there is damage to the brain. Unfortunately, we can't see that damage. When someone has maybe a heart condition or they have something with their lungs, we could see physically that they may have labored breathing, that their energy level has decreased. But when you have a diseased brain, we don't necessarily see that. And so we expect someone to remember things that they used to do or act a certain way when it's really not in their capacity to be able to do that. So there are distinct disadvantages that can be seen, but having a CT scan is not as frequent when it's on the brain as opposed to when it's the other organs. So what is a dementia friend? A dementia friend, this is a social action movement that started in the UK, as you can tell by the the previous person's accent. And there are 5 key messages that I'd like you to take away today. And to become a dementia friend, we want you to understand these 5 key messages and then commit to a dementia friendly action. Now, I'm not going to sign you up and get a uniform and you have to, march out and do anything. Becoming a dementia friendly action is something that is really easy to do. So, and what I will also do is I will also share the link because there are many different dementia friend sessions. As I said, that Ohio Center for Cognitive Health. We have for veterans, for faith, for libraries, legal and financial. And so I will send the link also to Debbie so that you have the dementia friends for individuals living alone with dementia. Many of the same things that we're talking about today, and it's an easier form for everyone. So when it comes to folks with intellectual intellectual disabilities living in the community setting, they can be either independent or they can be living with maybe families or friends. Some of them are in a community setting. I know there was one Welcome House had a house that there were 4 individuals that were living in this house. It wasn't really considered a group home because they didn't have or need 24/7 care, but they had SSAs that came in and were able to help them. And studies have shown that adults with an intellectual disability that have causes that there's a prevalence for dementia. The same chromosome 23 that Downs is on, is the same chromosome for dementia.
21.
21? Okay.
Yeah. 3 copies of chromosome 21.
3. Okay. So that's where I was getting the 3 from. Thank you.
Yeah.
Take that out of the recording. The average onset of dementia is first seen usually in the late 60s. And many times we think of this only as memory loss. And what's challenging for some of the caregivers that I speak with, they will say, well, mom can't remember what she had for breakfast, but oh my goodness, she remembers first grade that the day she wore her brand new blue dress and little Johnny Smith spilled chocolate milk on it and it was stained forever. And she still gets mad when she talks about Johnny Smith. So they're not equating memory loss because they have long-term care memory, but it usually is the short-term memory that's one of the first things to go. But it is also more about memory. It's about language. we will find that folks that have a cognitive impairment will have trouble finding words. And usually those words are nouns. And I'm going to talk about dementia versus normal aging, because as we're all very busy and we're in the middle of talking, speaking with someone, and we have this really great idea, and you get to the idea and you can't think of the word, everyone panics and goes, oh my goodness, I have dementia. But that retrieval is can become a little bit longer as we age, but we're able to get that. But what is important and helpful for our loved ones who have developmental and intellectual disability is that baseline. So the recommendation is at age 35 to get a baseline of their social, behavioral, and intellectual functions. So you have something to compare everything to. The sooner you get that and have that, the better that you are. And there are several cognitive tests that have been used to evaluate those with intellectual disabilities, and it's called the NTG Early Detection Screening, and it's one of the tools that doctors use. If the doctor's not familiar with it, that's, again, you will find that as parents and concerned about someone who has a intellectual disability, that you've had to be their advocate. So you continue to have to do that, whether it's in social settings, in the medical setting, in all of those pieces. Cognitive tests should never be the only tool to be used out. So we want to look at thyroid, as I said, because some dementias are reversible. We want to look at thyroids with thyroid problems, which your folks are prone to have, depression, grief and loss, chronic ear and sinus infections, and in other infections, and even medications and sleep apnea. All of these things are, can be an important factor. Why go down that road if that's not the road you need to be down? And so you want to have that assessment by a dementia expert. And then after you do get that diagnosis, it's important to build a support team that includes your primary care doctor, but memory specialists and any other specialists that you need in terms of like day programs, maybe the work staff, if there's, someone is still working out there, caregivers, family and friends, so that they're not afraid and will stay away from you, but help to encourage and nourish you in this journey. And if anybody has any questions, always feel free to just, say, yell Lori, and I'll stop. So Alzheimer's disease is more the concern for people with Down syndrome, because there's my 21. I haven't done this for a while, Debbie. Because
okay.
of the extra copy on the chromosome, and it carries the gene that produces one of the key proteins involved in the changes in the brain. I know I continually read about, is it protein, is it gut health? Honestly, they still don't know the cause of Alzheimer's. They don't know how to stop it, and they don't know how to cure it. So when you do see that commercial from the Alzheimer's Association, and they say they're looking for the first survivor of Alzheimer's, I mean, that commercial, when I talk about it, when I see it, still gives me goosebumps, because what a day that will be when they can say they found the first survivor. But they are thinking that it is these amyloid plaque formations that are there that are preventing the brain from getting the signals. Again, there's the risk with chromosome 21, but just to say that Alzheimer's is not inevitable with people with Down syndrome, just as it's not inevitable, not everyone is going to get Alzheimer's, to be diagnosed with Alzheimer's. There are things that you can do. We talk about living a healthy life, but your chances increase as you age, but it's not a done deal. That we estimate that Alzheimer's affects about 30% of the people with Down, but by their 60s, this number becomes closer to 50%. So the caveat is that folks that have a Down's diagnosis may be diagnosed with Alzheimer's sooner than someone in the general public. Always knowing that there is early onset Alzheimer's, and that is for folks that don't have Downs, but they are diagnosed before they're 60 years old. And again, this one sentence, although the risk increases with each decade, at no point does it come close to reaching 100%. So that's not written in everybody's, tombstone there. Short-term memory is not usually an early sign of individuals with IDD. Instead, you want to watch for changes in their day-to-day function. Reduced enthusiasm, loss of interest in social interactions, changes in their personality and behavior. And one of the big pieces is for this population is onset of seizure activity is often another hallmark. That's why we talk how important it is to get that base there. So the early signs of Alzheimer's disease in individuals Down, symptoms may vary and they depend on the individual, but there are some common signs and symptoms. Some of them are, again, as I said, this seizure activity, it shouldn't be if they've had seizures along, generally along the way, but now maybe there's an increase in seizures. So, it's looking at, and having somebody find out why that's there. New or increased incontinence. Mobility changes, because Alzheimer's does affect your balance. And that's one of the trends that we're looking at. If someone is looking at even their mom or dad, looking at, is there a difference in their gait and, the pace that they're walking at? Those might be indications that something is up. And then having swallowing difficulties, new or increased. Whereas with typical aging, these are not symptoms of normal aging that are listed here. So it's unique to the Down population. Some early signs include like depression, mood, and dulled emotions, sadness and tearfulness, increased excitability, fear and suspicion, irritability, restlessness, and maybe fluctuating moods and behaviors. In typical aging, we all know of that crusty curmudgeon that lives down the street and yells at us to get off the lawn, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have Alzheimer's that's there. When these actions interrupt your daily routine and they affect your ability to live life and get along with people, now we need to look at some more root causes. Some early signs are withdrawing from work or social activities. So again, this decrease in enthusiasm, loss of interest in social interactions. So in typical aging, what happens is sometimes we're just tired. You come home from work and you just don't have the stamina like you used to. But someone with dementia, their brain is working so hard to like breathe and keep the blood pumping and the heart going and understand conversations, that their body really needs to kind of take more of these opportunities to just kind of sit and kind of gather yourself. And that's why folks tend to withdraw. Misplacing things, and again, we all get scared because I can't find the car keys. I mean, if that's the case, I would have had somebody would have diagnosed me with dementia like a long time ago. But it's not necessary. It's not just misplacing things, but it's when you find these things, they're put in unusual places. I always joke about when I said this, my sister said, "Oh my goodness, my mother-in-law did that. She put her car keys in the freezer." Now that's really, and to her it made sense at the time. For any of us, in terms of typical aging, yes, we might misplace something, but if we retrace our steps, then we can usually find where it is or have a general idea. again, how many times do we look in the same spot over and over again, and you talk to somebody in the house, hey honey, have you seen my keys? And they'll walk right over as to where we were looking, and it's like you feel like, oh my goodness, I must have been house blind. So early signs, it is difficulty completing familiar tasks. So their productivity is decreased, fine motor skills, sometimes even using, utensils becomes a little bit more difficult, or it takes more steps to do the dishes. Maybe takes more steps to set the table, whereas somebody may have gone to the silverware drawer and picked up the knife and the fork and the spoon. They'll go over, pick up the spoon, and then put the spoon down, and then go over to the drawer again and get the knife and do that. Typical aging, we need occasional help with activities, but we're able to kind of do things. That decrease in familiar activities, the concentration is something that is a challenge. Trouble with visual and spatial relationships. And this one, I think we tend to ignore. So it's navigating familiar spaces and understanding pictures, manipulating common objects. You're going to reach for something and it's not there. For someone with, in typical aging, it's forgetting names or appointments. But what's really important about this spatial relationship is think about your loved one. Are you seeing more bruises on them? Are you misstepping it? You didn't calculate that there was a step down. It's like, oh yeah, my bad. But if it's happening all the time, this could be, a signal that we might need to get things checked a little bit. What we think about in terms of someone in typical aging, we see the silver alerts on the highway that, this car is lost. And we think about someone who is, who's driving and they just kind of lose their way and we don't know where they're at. But there are some precursors many times. So when I talk with families, I talk about, looking at the car, are there extra scratches and dents that, oh yeah, somebody ran into me or whatever. There's always a good excuse. So understand that when we're looking at these, thinking about these visual images and spatial relationships, is something that we may have just kind of blown off and said, oh, that's, I misstepped or whatever. And you don't have to, be using this fine tooth comb. It's like, oh my goodness, they tripped and they didn't see that. But it's just something to keep in mind. Decreased and poor judgment, their attention to their own personal safety. Think about, if they're using the stove or some of those pieces that are there. Typical aging, making a bad decision once in a while. If any of us was, after one bad decision, if we were told that we have dementia, we'd all have that label because, no one is, that I know of. You may know of someone that has not made a bad decision at some point in their life. Hopefully we're able to get through them. But again, when it starts to affect their personal safety, we want to look at those things. Challenges in planning and problem solving. So when it becomes familiar tasks, again, let's take this example of setting the table. You ask someone to set the table for dinner and they just kind of look at you. This is something that they know, packing their lunch, those types of things that have become so routine that they should be able to do it. But now they're struggling with that. Do we make occasional errors in daily activities? Yeah, I'm good for that. So, it's again, it's that awareness of looking at the bigger situation. You don't have to sound the alarm right away, but start to note, maybe even journal some changes that you've seen. Confusion with time or place. And so the daily routines. I understand that if I ever retire, I'm not going to know what a weekday is from a weekend day. I'm kind of looking forward to that. Maybe, I don't know, but that's part of retirement. But when you've had these daily routines and on Sunday we always go to church and hey Tom, it's Sunday, and he looks at you, goes, okay. It's like, you know, there should be some kind of recognition that's going on. Confused by the day of the week, but recalling it later. I don't know how many times during the work week I think it's Friday or hope it's Friday or at least Thursday, and always disappointed it's only Monday afternoon. Memory loss that disrupts daily life, and I think this is the key. It interferes with life and how you're able to function on your own and how you were able to function previously. So your decreased ability to pay attention, forgetting familiar names. I know I had a father-in-law that the grandchildren thought, oh, isn't he cute? He calls all the girls Tootsie, and he calls all his grandsons Bub. He forgot their names, and no one ever recognized that, which I think is kind of funny. And even I remember at his eulogy, the priest was talking about, I'd go to visit him, and he'd go, hi, Bub, and thinking this was a term of endearment, and it really was kind of masking that he couldn't remember the name. Sometimes do we forget names and appointments? Yes, but we remember them later. Just don't forget April 15th is always income tax day. Otherwise, you'll really be in trouble. New problems with words in speaking or writing. So your word choices become limited, that you have difficulty understanding the conversation. We've had conversations with some folks, and all of a sudden, there's might be a group of people and we're talking about a subject, and somebody who's been kind of quiet will come up and say something that was like totally unrelated. And you're going, where did that come from? Well, that gets us to think that there might be something more that's going on. Finding that right word. And again, all of us have trouble finding that right word. What's interesting is it usually is a noun that makes it difficult. I remember I was talking to someone and I couldn't think of the word fireplace. And what was frustrating for me is I had pictured in my head a fireplace. It's kind of like you want to peel off the skin and say, see that picture of the fireplace? It's in my head. This is what I'm trying to talk about. But I just kind of faked it, kept going around till I either find the right word, or I just kind of go, I just say, oh, it wasn't that important. It's a tactic that I use. So what I want you to know is I spoke about the 5 key messages I want you to learn, that Dementia Friends really wants everyone to learn. And the first key message is dementia is not a natural part of aging for anyone. That dementia is caused by a disease of the brain. It's someone doesn't have control over that. That dementia is not just about losing your memory. It is about many different factors. It's the spatial. It is, your ability to do tasks, to multitask. Again, with the story about the kettle, that it's possible to live well with dementia. We may need to adapt how we do things and help someone support them, but you can live well with dementia. And there's more to a person than dementia. So in the old day, dementia comes from the root word demented, and that has a bad connotation. So we don't want to talk about someone who has, they have dementia. It's like, a person with a brain disease, using person-centered language that really helps support the dignity of each person. So here's something about the 5 key messages. And what's interesting, I want you to note, is that all of the folks in this video have dementia. So it varies. Dementia is usually a slow progressive disease, and many folks are not even diagnosed until after they have had the disease for a while, and people go, oh, they used to do this. So it's we don't know when it starts. We don't know if dementia starts in your 40s or in your 30s, because we have the capacity to be able to kind of work around it.
I found myself saying something or trying to say something or And then I realized that the word didn't even fit in that I said or something like that. So I just kept, thinking about it. And it didn't happen every day. It didn't happen, hardly at all. And then it just kept getting a little bit worse and a little bit worse.
I think some of the family members thought something was off, I guess. Did any of them think dementia? Probably not.
When you're used to doing things and doing it right and doing it, and and all of a sudden, you can't remember this, and you can't, what is your name, and it's like a dark area. It's just like being in darkness,
And I think everybody that with this disease, people walk away from them. They're afraid they're going to catch it, like measles or mumps. And that bothers me that they do that.
I have to be aware that any moment my brain might not tell me where to go.
My first reaction was that I'm going to beat this disease.
I can't spell anything like I used to be able to just spell, you just write a check. Now I'm not clear what the thing is, how you do it or anything. All that stuff that I thought I was so good at is gone, or on the way gone.
Remembering names, I think that's the biggest issue with me.
People sometimes would kind of look at you kind of strange because I'm not saying what they want me to say or talk the way they want me to talk.
When I started putting my shirts on backwards, that was one of my early signs too.
Walking, that's why I have a cane now, and because I have a tendency to rock sideways, and I don't want to trip or fall.
Darkness is not good for me, and I tend to trip or fall, and my coordination isn't as it used to be.
Oh, I don't cook anymore either, because when I cook, and it doesn't matter if someone's in the house or not, I just start cooking and I forget about using, what do you use when you cook? What? Stove. The stove. I forget every time to turn it off. Every time I've cooked, no matter who's there.
Right now, like I'm doing really good because I have someone that takes care of me really good,
Be active in the community still. Go to yoga, do things like that. Don't do it so well, but that's okay.
Staying active, even a little bit active, keeps you interested.
And I like to be around people.
When people would struggle, I'd go over and help them. And I found it very uplifting to help other people.
You can't deny this disease. If you deny it, you're going to get in trouble.
The singing is very, very good to the brain. We know that. And the more we can do that, the better off we'll be.
People that have dementia, I think, are very unique. And I think they have a lot to offer still.
It's an attitude here. You have to get up in the morning and say, okay, I got to do this today. Even if it's just one thing.
I can say to a person that it's going to be all right. And I can say to a person that depend on God. Because with God, everything is possible.
I'm not ashamed of it. And nobody should be. I mean, I had cancer. Was I ashamed of having cancer? No. Why would I be? Why should I be ashamed of having dementia?
I've lasted 14 years with this disease. It's not going to go away. I accept that. Only thing I guess with my future is that I'll work as hard as I can to stay alive and function.
I think what's challenging for many folks when they suspect that their loved one has dementia or some kind of cognitive impairment is it's not an all the time event that's going on. That there are times where someone will have, whether you want to call it a good day or they have awareness, they're doing their routine, they're able to do crossword puzzles and and do all the tasks that they had done previously. And then the next day they may forget how to set the table. And it's like, well, and so it's difficult for someone who's living with that person to say, well, how could you forget? I've had caregivers that have said, I think my loved one's playing possum, because they don't realize that this is a short circuiting of the brain, and sometimes everything is operating, on all 8 cylinders, and sometimes it's only operating on 3 cylinders. And the next day it could be 7 cylinders. So you're getting where you need to be, maybe not as fast as you want. Another challenge is those tasks that are really ingrained in you, whether someone might be an accountant, and so they have this affinity for numbers. They can still do spreadsheets and calculate, but they're having problems trying to remember how to tie their shoes and to put their shirt on the right way. There was one gentleman at a senior center, and they didn't believe that he had dementia because he would drive there. And he would sit there and he would do these crossword puzzles and do them in pen and get them right. But then you would ask him, which car is yours? And he had problems finding his car in the parking lot. So there's no definitive sign. At the Alzheimer's Association, we used to say that if you've seen one person with Alzheimer's, you've seen one person with Alzheimer's, because it affects people differently. And it really is kind of a hit or miss, especially at the beginning that's there. So that's why it's important, for you to kind of have that awareness so that you can help, get that really good, personal assessment that you see, I think it's time we need to go to, get a cognitive assessment for our loved one. So again, the 5 key messages: dementia is not a part of aging. Dementia is caused by diseases of the brain. Dementia is not just about losing your memory. It is possible to live well with dementia, and there is more to a person than dementia. So the challenge, so now I want to talk about how this kind of translates into like every day. So everyday tasks that seem simple and really easy to any of us, it can become difficult and frustrating for our loved one. So what I want you to do is, so we'll think of something like, let's talk about brushing your teeth. So I want, everyone to share, what do you think are some steps that you would need, that you go through when you go to brush your teeth? So please just kind of share.
Find your toothbrush.
Okay.
Find your toothpaste.
Okay.
Open it.
Yep.
Put the amount of toothpaste on the toothbrush that's appropriate.
Yep.
Maybe wet it. Wet your toothbrush.
Okay. Okay. So if you think about it and you start breaking it down, think about what you need to do is you need to remember what room in the house has your toothbrush. That can be a challenge right there. I have had a caregiver talk, they had to be very careful and reconfigure their bathroom because their loved one used hemorrhoid cream to brush their teeth. Tube, you know, to them it made sense, but you know, again, that ability to read and understand, that can be a challenge. So when you look at it, you know, here broken down, if you look at step by step, all of these things that we take for granted and are automatic for us really can become a challenge, and there could be an interruption in any point in this sequence. So you have to locate the bathroom, which bathroom if there's more than one. You have to open the door, turn on the light, locate your toothbrush. Is it in, where is it in the cupboard, on the counter? If there's more than one person living in that house, which one is their toothbrush? Because I don't want to be using somebody else's toothbrush. You need to turn on the water, hot or cold, or what? How do the handles operate? We're used to maybe the handles, but some of the new faucets, you pull them up. What does that look like? Wet the toothbrush, turn off the water, locate the toothpaste on the counter. I found the toothpaste brush. Now I have to find the toothpaste, take the lid off, squeeze it. How do I get it out? Which end of the brush do I put this on? Recap the toothpaste, put it in my mouth. If it's electric, turn it on. Brush your teeth. What do I do? The uppers, do I just do the front? Do I do the inside? Turn it off, rinse, spit, floss, all of these different steps. Look, and it keeps going. Rinse, mouthwash, denture care. What does that look like? Finishing up, many a caregiver has said, oh my goodness, I go into the bathroom after my loved one has brushed their teeth and it looks like a tornado's been through there, because as they were searching for all those pieces that they need. So the next piece is communication is very important. That where we're at, effective communication is the key, and we're not going to change the response of the individual. They have a disease of the brain, but we can change how we respond and how we react. So we talked about the bookcase story and how a person might feel as there changes with dementia. And one of the skills that may be greatly changed is the ability to communicate, both expressing needs and understanding what others are asking. Many times folks will, because they might not understand, they will look at your face for verbal cues. They will listen to your voice. They'll know you're asking a question because we tend to go up at the end of the question, when we're asking the question. And so they know somebody asked them a question, but they don't know what it is. So there's a change in their ability to communicate are unique to each person. Using familiar words repeatedly, inventing new words to describe familiar objects. Again, I throw my family under the bus. My father-in-law was in the hospital, and he's going like this. He's going like this, and they're going, are you looking for the denture cream? What are you looking for? He was looking for the remote, but he knew it was something that you do with the hands. And so you're playing like 20 questions with someone, but they're easily losing their train of thought in the middle of speaking. And if someone is bilingual, they might revert back to their language, their first language that they learned, and they might have difficulty organizing words and logically. Sometimes folks will use what's called word salad, that they'll make up words as a kind of like a substitute to what they're trying to tell you. So here are some tips that we can work at to practice to aid in communication. Facial expressions. So you want to get eye contact with someone. What's important is that you don't start if you're going to talk to someone who's sitting in a room, you don't start the conversation from the doorway. You walk in, you get into their line of vision. You try to make eye contact with them. You don't want to stand too close, but you don't want to cover your mouth. When COVID was going on, it was a real challenge for folks because, even if we don't have a hearing difficulty, that I know just there are times that I don't understand what somebody's saying necessarily, but if I look at how their mouth is formed, and I can get a clue as to what they might be talking about. We want to look at talking. We want to speak clearly and calmly. We want to use short, simple sentences. We talked about Dr. Phil McCallion, and he talked about the 7 and 7 rule. And that doesn't mean that you can go get a 7 Crown and 7 Up, especially for breakfast. But the 7 and 7 rule is limit what you want to tell someone to 7 words, and then allow them 7 seconds to process these words. Because when you give someone, okay, so today we're going to go out, once you brush your teeth and have your breakfast, and we're going to go out and we're going to run to the pharmacy and pick up your prescription. And we're going to run past the post office and mail those letters, okay? And it's like, there's kind of at the beginning, and they might say, okay, and you're going, okay, and try, oh, okay, when it's like, they just wanted to stay home that day, and that's not what they wanted to do. So you want to think about the 7 and 7. You want to slower your pace. You want to avoid speaking sharply or raising your voice. Again, your inflection is also one of the communication tools that folks use. And listen, you want to listen carefully to what they're saying. You want to encourage visual cues. If someone needs a little bit of extra time, then allow them that extra time that they need to be able to kind of get things out. For example, you might use photographs. One of the tricks we kind of use is, you want someone to use the bathroom, and go to the bathroom to brush their teeth, or use the bathroom to use the facilities, and they're not, you're finding there might be some pee in the corner. Maybe they couldn't locate the bathroom, but we have such great tools that can be done. And it's not just even like downloading a clip art picture of a bathroom and putting it like outside the doorway, but we can take pictures with our cameras of our bathroom and put that on the outside so that it helps them locate something that is familiar to them. So using these tricks and tools in order to support someone, because we don't want to cripple them any more than what the disease is doing to them. When we want to, in communicating with someone, we want to treat everyone with dignity and respect. We want to be aware of your feelings. So think about how you're feeling. If you're stressed and it's coming out, and even you say, yes, dear, it's okay that you do that. Clearly you're sending a mixed message that's there. Be patient and supportive. And I know this all sounds so apple pie. Oh my goodness, who's the person that can remain calm with when all of this is going on? But those are pieces I'll talk about. Understand that caregivers can get frustrated. And when caregivers get frustrated, that's because they have the boundaries that they put up. They think that they should be able to do all, be that 24/7 caregiver, and still be, little Mary Sunshine. We want to offer comfort and reassurance. If someone needs that time to just kind of sit back and relax and watch TV to kind of collect themselves, allow them to do that. Avoid criticizing and correcting someone. No, dear, that's not what I meant. And avoid arguing, because the person is not doing something deliberately. It is where they're at, and it only increases the agitation. Offer a guess. So you might want to point to something. You might want to put a word out that might be helpful. Encourage nonverbal communication. I think an important piece to remember too is we have problems with nouns, but also when you're talking to someone, avoid the use of pronouns. I talked to Mary, and she's on the phone, and she was telling me about her day and when she went shopping, and the hers and the she's. Keep using the word Mary so they're able to follow the conversation. Understanding pronouns is a challenge. again, as I said, come from the front, identify yourself, keep in good eye contact, call the person by their preferred name. This is something that as an ombudsman, we stress that don't call a senior by the, Mary when she's used to, Mrs. Smith. If whatever they prefer, that's what you need to do. Use the short, simple phrases, which contain 7 words or less. Repeat information once if necessary. You don't have to keep repeating it 4 and 5 times because they're not going to understand it if they didn't understand it after 2 times. Limit your questions when necessary. Ask 1 question at a time. One of the things we talk about is in allowing someone to make choices. If you go to a restaurant and, they're, okay, George, here's the menu. What do you want to eat? It's too overwhelming for someone. But by saying, well, George, you like chicken. Would you like baked chicken or fried chicken? Now we have controlled choices. And it's easier for that person to make these choices. I think of that in terms of dressing too. If you tell someone, go get dressed, we're going to be going out to the post office, and George comes out with, a shirt and a tie because he was used to going to work with a shirt and a tie, and he doesn't need to wear that. Kind of guide someone by saying, George, would you like to wear this red shirt or this blue shirt? He has a voice in what is going on. You're not taking his autonomy away from him, but you're staying away from, oh my goodness, George, I told you, don't you have any sense that, don't you know, we're just going to the post office. You don't have to dress that way. Wait patiently for the response. Provide a statement rather than a question. For example, the bathroom is right here instead of, do you need to use the bathroom? Well, yes, I need to use the bathroom, but you're not telling me where it is. Avoid confusing and vague statements. Please come here, your shower is ready. Here, where is here? Go sit over there. What's over there? Is there, you want me to sit in a chair? You want me to sit in the hallway? What is over there? So, you want to, it's funny that losing the ability for nouns, but we want to keep using nouns as much as possible. Name an object or a place rather than here it is, here is your hat. Use people's names, not he or she. Turn negatives into positives. Instead of saying, don't go there, let's go here. Give visual cues, point or touch to the item you want the person, here, let's button your shirt and kind of, again, you have to look at your situation, because if someone doesn't recognize you, a stranger touching them is going to cause more issues. So, kind of read your room. Try using written notes. There are many times in pictures that people will use Post-it notes and the large white calendars when they still have that ability. Someone said, though, when they went over to visit mom and she had Post-it notes all over the place, doesn't mean she was reading them. The Post-it notes was there to remind her. And people have the ability to read, but that doesn't necessarily mean they understand what they read. Avoid quizzing. I think the 2 most terrible phrases is, do you remember when, or I already told you. I think those are fighting words, and that just, to me, it really makes someone feel less than rather than more than. Key messages, I'm going to go through that again. I'm just going to buzz through because they want you to get these key messages. So now, when I ask you, what are the first words you think of when you hear dementia? Do we have some different words? I hope.
You're kind of adapting, you're adjusting, to a new normal.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Adapting and adjusting. Yes. Anyone else? Okay, so now I said, we want to take this, and as a dementia friend, we want to take this and put this into action. So as a dementia friend, and I'm not going to make anybody, raise their hand as to what they're going to do, but here are some ways that you can put this information that you've learned into action. So you can get in touch with someone that you know living with dementia. Be more patient with someone with dementia that's out in the community. Offer support. Offer support to caregivers. Volunteer for an organization that helps people with dementia. Campaign for a change. Volunteer to participate in a clinical trial. And I know, and I mean, to me, I see these, and folks that are wanting to learn about dementia are usually somewhere in the stage, and they don't really have time to do one more thing. But just think about having that conversation maybe with your doctor for a cognitive assessment for you or your loved one. Make your home more dementia friendly. Avoid the clutter and pieces that could get in the way. Thinking about if they have mobility issues, let's do that home safety and eliminate those throw rugs and things that are there. Make my community more dementia friendly. Encourage my friends to become dementia friendly. So these are just the partners, and I'm going to go through this. And so one of the things, so now that what I like about what we have done here is now we've kind of educated you about dementia and we've increased your awareness. So now you're thinking, okay, Lori, I think I have more questions. What do I, who do I need to go to? What do I need to do? Well, of course, Debbie is there, but there's also, Benjamin Rose offers BRI care consultation. This is an evidence-based care coaching program. I had mentioned that the program is delivered by phone and email because we know caregivers don't have time to come to an office to make an appointment, finding someone to stay with their loved one. And if we had the time and capacity to make home visits, I mean, knowing how my life is, I would bet you dollars to donuts on the day somebody was coming to visit me. My loved one would decide that he wanted to stay in his pajamas all day. The dog threw up and the hot water tank blew. And I mean, that would be my life. And so you don't have that pressure. So so our program is designed to support the caregiver, equal support to the caregiver, as well as the individual. The program is at no cost. We have funding through the Administration for Community Living, as I said, and even though the grant is done with at the end of this month, the Ohio Department of Aging and Ohio State University has created a Golden Buckeye Caregiver Support Center. And so there is additional funding that we can continue to deliver BRI care consultation for free through Welcome House to individuals that would like it. You receive a personal care consultant. You stay with that same care consultant throughout the whole process. We, as a care consultant, we help you find and get connected to community resources. We help you prioritize, your concerns and your needs, and maybe help you identify things that you didn't think about. We have tips and information on communicating with loved ones and family and friends. We stay in touch with you. We don't just say, okay, call this number and good luck, but we're going to follow up with you. Were you able to get through? Are you able to get the services? Okay, let's look at the next thing on your list. We help assist you in getting family and friends involved. Many times we do have, a friend or a family member will say, well, if you need me, just call, and we're reluctant to do that. Or somebody maybe say they wanted to help and they don't really come through. So how do we kind of organize that support team? We help you with that. And more than anything, that care consultant is there for you as an emotional support when you're feeling overwhelmed and facing the challenges.
Lori, can I ask you a question about that? A couple questions.
Yes.
One, is it limited regionally? For a while, the grant applied to only certain areas. So can people from any county use this care consultation?
Yes, because the goal is for Ohio to become a dementia resource throughout the whole state. So we are looking at area agencies and other organizations. But if there is not an organization in the area, we are able to deliver care consultations through Benjamin Rose called the We Care program. So wherever you're at, we're able to do that.
And then the second follow-up question is, so let's say we're a family and we access the care consultation model and we're looking for a nursing home for our loved one, but because our loved one has Down syndrome and is young, they can't always gain admittance for skilled nursing care in a nursing home environment. Does that care consultant help with finding resources to support?
We do, and one of the things we found is the folks at Welcome House are very knowledgeable, and there is there are unique needs that folks with Down syndrome have. We work with Care Patrol, and they have a relationship with many of the assisted livings and facilities. Maybe a group home is going to fit the bill, but getting into the IDD system, they have pieces in place. I know the challenge is, as an ombudsman, that I had a woman who was in a nursing home, and the nursing home sent her to the hospital, and her sister called because when the hospital said it was time to discharge her, the nursing home refused to take her back, and they can't do that. And that just infuriated me to no end, but we were able to resolve that. But finding a place that fits well for someone is very important. So we're gonna stay in contact with you. We're gonna find you the right people to help you find that the nursing home assisted living that works for you.
Okay. And then my last thing was, you had talked when we spoke about that CARE, K-A-E-R program with resources for doctors. Can we have information about that? Like, what should we be suggesting to our doctors?
So I am going to stop sharing, and now I'm going to try to get. Did I?
Yeah, you're good.
So this is the CARE toolkit?
No, I don't see that. I just see you.
Oh, we don't want that. All right. So what I'm going to do is share screen. All right. I'm also going to give you, I'm going to send you the link for this toolkit for primary care teams. And this is how you can talk to your professionals about brain health and detection of cognitive impairment. There's a lot of great pieces in here. They use this, the idea of kickstart the brain with a health conversation, assess for cognitive impairment, evaluate for dementia, and refer for resources. It is not, I know that there is a care for IDD. I spoke with Ohio Center for Cognitive Health, and as soon as it's out there, I'll definitely get you access to it. But this does give you some ideas and things to think about as you're looking to assess, and it's a really great tool for families and individuals to look at and get a sense, and maybe even share it with their doctor who doesn't believe that, I don't think they really have dementia. Here's something that you need to look at. So our goal is to arm you with the tools so that you can have the conversation. When we talk about whether you have dementia or not, there are things, we talk about a healthy brain. What you want to do is you want to eat healthy. You want to exercise, and you want to be socially engaged. That's the trifecta of keeping and maintaining as long as, what you have for as long as you have. And now I purposely stopped sharing.
When you sent me the PowerPoint, can we share that CARE thing too?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'll send you the link for that also. You have the PowerPoint and please, if you have any questions, whether you just need to, ask some questions, I'd be more than happy to, answer questions. If you're interested in care consultation, would like a little bit more information